Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, committed to conservation and careful management of the state's forests to make them more resilient and better habitats for wildlife. ChooseWood.com.
This is St. Louis on the Air from St. Louis Public Radio. I'm Elaine Cha. Moving to a new place comes with a great deal more than an address change. For those who pack up their lives to move to an entirely new country, adjusting to language, systems, and culture that's very different from what they've known can be difficult and lonely. Since 2017, the St. Louis Mosaic Project's international mentoring program has worked to make that process of adjustment easier. It pairs new immigrants to St. Louis with locals to help people new to the U.S. navigate life in the region.
They don't understand things like, why do we have so many municipalities? How do we recycle here? I mean, all of the daily things of living. And then that has just spawned the most beautiful relationships. And we've had so many women say to us, if it hadn't been for their connection to this program, they would have told their husbands, let's go back to our home country. So it's really just beautiful to see how the mentoring creates, I mean, literally what we're all about is creating welcoming and helping people feel like they belong here.
That's Suzanne Sierra, Assistant Director for the St. Louis Mosaic Project. The organization, which was launched in 2012, aims to transform St. Louis into the fastest-growing major metropolitan area for immigration by 2025. One of the chief ways it's working toward that goal is by providing opportunities that make immigrants want to stay in St. Louis, things like helping folks connect with options for employment. Laura Wilson, Executive Director of the International Mentoring Program, says that's important, even after immigrants receive employment eligibility in the U.S.
We've had a lot of underserved or underemployed people and underemployed women who go through our program, and they are working in jobs that are just, they used to be doctors over in India, and now they're over here and they're working as an administrative assistant. Now, a lot of that is because of the boards and the requirements of their jobs, but how do we get them to a job or a position that is best suited to their needs? And so in doing so, we have noticed there's a lot of, you need to know someone, and St. Louis is a very big community on who you know and needing to know people. And so I think that has been one of the large impacts we've seen with this program.
Shirley Moran and Christina Lawrence are one pair among the 560 women who've been matched through the St. Louis Mosaic Project's International Mentoring Program. And they join us today to share how the program's goals have come to fruition in their relationship and what it's added to their experiences of making St. Louis home. Christina and Shirley, welcome to St. Louis on the Air.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Shirley, you moved to St. Louis from Mexico City in 2018. Why did you come here, and what was your transition like?
I came here because I married a St. Louisan, and a lot of internationals in St. Louis won't let me lie that it's part of the package. Mm-hmm. A lot of, St. Louis, people love to stay here and love to be here. So it was just a no-brainer. I work in marketing, and my husband works in finance. So marketing, it's just way more translatable, if you will, to having skills in English and working in different parts of the world. So it made more sense for me to move here. And the process was very, very, very difficult.
Okay. What were some of the things that you found most challenging, like the everyday things that were difficult?
Yeah. I think I have to go back to the very, very basics. Once you move into a new country, you're by yourself and you're not the same person that went to bed once in your country. You're a new person with a new identity, with a new labels, all of different labels, with new interests, with not knowing what soup you like or what cereal or what milk you like whenever you go into grocery store. You don't know anything. So
Yeah.
it's a very isolating process because you don't have friends, you don't have family. It's at least for me, it was me and my husband and his family, but I was just a new person here and I was Dean's wife for the longest time until I started the mentoring program. You kind of lose your identity, you have an identity crisis, and you also suffer a lot of isolation.
Yeah. Well, and to the point about isolation and sort of the everyday things, transportation was one of those basic things that you struggled with, right?
Yes, St. Louis is not, it's not as friendly of transportation, public transportation as you would expect, or as Mexico City or any other big city, right, New York or whatever it is. And I fortunately brought my bike with me. And I live in U City, so I live about 30-minute bike ride to the loop. So I was able to go to places in my bike and be around. In Mexico, the summer it's in the high 60s. Here the summers are in the 90s.
Yes.
So and there's no humidity in Mexico City, and here it's very humid. So
Yeah.
it was quite an adjustment to be biking around in the middle of summer, but I find my way around it.
So, I mean, at what point was it that you came to learn about the international mentoring program, and what were your expectations going into it?
I got very lucky because Wells Fargo, where my husband works, is kind of connected to the Mosaic Project, and they get emails once in a while of what they're going or what causes they're supporting. And my husband's boss forwarded an email and said, "Hey, I know your wife is here. This is a part of a program that Wells Fargo supports. Maybe she should check it out." And my husband was like, "Yeah, you should go." And it was just so hard for me to put myself out there. And I'm 100% an extrovert, but whenever you move to a new country, you're not quite yourself. You're not in a thriving position. You're in a driver's seat of, I need to survive. So it definitely changes your personality and your approach to life.
Yeah.
So the first 2 months that were meetings, I wouldn't go. And then my husband kept pushing and I went, and it was the best thing that has ever happened to me.
Yeah. So, Christina, for your part, I think you do relate to some of the things that Shirley is talking about, but what was it ultimately that led you to join the program?
So I was not raised in St. Louis. I was raised in New York and California, and I've lived in different countries all over the world. And when I was exposed to the Mosaic Project, we had recently returned from living in Toronto, which is an incredibly diverse city, and we love that. And so when I came to St. Louis for actually the third time at that point, I really wanted to do my part to help make this a place that's really welcoming for everyone from all over and help them settle and make it a place where diversity really thrives. So, and, you know, I had experiences from living in different countries and having my kids overseas, learning about things like transportation, education, healthcare, the workplace culture, which is really different across the world. So I had a bit of an appreciation for what it's like to be in that situation, and I felt like I could probably give that back a little bit to help others as they come to St. Louis.
Yeah. So, I mean, the program itself, it is a program. It is formal. The St. Louis Mosaic Project, it matches mentors and mentees based on many factors, and there is an interview process for them to get to know people's personal interests, what their careers have been. What made your match one that made sense on paper?
I know marketing, it's a big deal for us, but also to me, like, Christina is definitely a role model. Like, she's been all over the world. She's a mom and she's a marketing professional. So those are things I strive for, and that made total sense to me. Like, not only a friend, but a confidant and someone that I can trust and that can help me. Like, there's so many questions of workplace that you would never ask anyone, and unless they were in a position like you, like even my husband is a different industry. So having an insider within the work culture that can give you those recommendations or just input. It's just unbelievable. And we live very close to each other. So that has also helped us stay in touch and get together often and discover new restaurants in our own neighborhood. So that has been really, really fun.
Yeah. Now, as we noted in the introduction, 560 women have participated in the International Mentoring Program since it started in 2017. And each cohort consists of 10 to 12 women who meet as a whole group 5 times a year, and each pair then meets on their own time together. That's about 30 hours of commitment from mentors and mentees during the period that they're matched. Was there something about the structured format that appealed to you, Shirley?
Yeah.
Especially given that you were talking about just getting on your bike and sort of riding around. Was knowing that there was a structure something that you felt would be beneficial to you, especially as you're establishing yourself in a new place?
Absolutely. And I think it's so well thought. It's not only beneficial, it wasn't only beneficial for me, but relationships take time and they don't develop from one day to the other. So there is an extra effort that both parts need to make in order to get together. And it would normally happen. It's hard to make it happen whenever you have a busy life. Mm-hmm. So this structure, it's in place, and you have to meet these dates, and you have to make time for this. And then once you continue in this structure, and after the year goes by, it goes by so fast. And then you're just in this dynamic of seeing each other and meeting each other. And that's something that we have carried over. We don't see each other every month, but maybe every other month or 2 or 3 times a year. And we're in this already a habit of getting together.
So for you, Christina, I have not talked with you about all of the things that you're involved with, but you shared how old your kids are now. And you met several years ago, so your children were both at home and growing up. You're full-time career woman. Was the structure also something that appealed to you?
What I liked about the program was that it was really thoughtfully done and that there was structure. We got to know each other before the pandemic, but even, we stayed in touch during the pandemic. And what I saw in this program was the structure continued despite the pandemic. There were, virtual courses and virtual get-togethers and everything else. So to me, the structure was important for feeding our relationship, but also just understanding within my, all my other commitments in life, that I had a commitment to my mentee, and that was really important. Yeah. And I had a sense right away that it would carry on beyond that first year.
Mm-hmm. What were your conversations like, Christina, in the beginning? And, did you, in that mentor role, end up asking as many questions as you did offering answers?
Yes, and I was thinking about this because our relationship has evolved so much over time. When we first met, I really felt almost like a burden of responsibility to give expertise and, help Shirley, get her career off the ground and help her with resume and making contacts. And so I was very focused on, how do I provide her with the resources she needed. And at the same time, while doing that, just getting to know what an incredible person she is. Even talking through things like resumes and trying to understand, okay, tell me about this experience. I learned so much about her and how that experience translated to what work life would be here. Mm-hmm. And then over time, it just kind of grew into this incredible friendship.
We're talking with Christina Lawrence and Shirley Moran about the St. Louis Mosaic Project's International Mentoring Program. We need to take a quick break, but we'll be back shortly to continue this conversation. This is St. Louis on the Air on St. Louis Public Radio.
Support comes from the Missouri Forest Products Association, committed to conservation and careful management of the state's forests to make them more resilient and better habitats for wildlife. ChooseWood.com.
Welcome back. Let's return to our conversation about the St. Louis Mosaic Project's International Mentoring Program. We're speaking with Shirley Moran and Christina Lawrence, two St. Louis residents who met as mentee and mentor through the program in 2018 and are still friends today. Now, before the break, we were talking about your friendship, Christina and Shirley. But Shirley, one of the other benefits that you reaped by joining this program was connecting with other people who are new to the country. Tell me why that was something that you enjoyed so much.
Yeah, I always tell this story because it was so representative for me. Married to a St. Louis, and all of the people that I met here were native speakers, of course, of English and locals. So it took me 3 months to actually be able to meet someone that had an accent. And whenever you move to a new country, you're so conscious about your accent and the lack of it's not the lack of fluency. It's just not feeling yourself speaking a second language all the time.
Yeah.
You're not used to it. So that was so refreshing, and it just felt like home. Whenever you hear other people having accents and being from different countries and going through experiences so hard and so difficult like the ones you've gone through, it just feels like a warm hug.
Mm-hmm. I can relate to that, definitely. Now, Christina, as a mentor, you were helping Shirley to acclimate, as you said, professionally. You felt a little bit of a burden to do that, but also socially. And I had made a point of saying that you were both residents of St. Louis because, as you said, Christina, you've lived in many places and you're now a resident of St. Louis upon the third time of returning here. What were some of the things maybe that you learned about the city or the region through this mentorship relationship with Shirley?
So when I first moved here, way back in 1996, the first time, one of the things that struck me about St. Louis just instantly was this sense of connectivity and closeness that is very present in our region. When you meet somebody, even if you're brand new, you are likely to have acquaintances in common, or you might have just gone to the same cultural event together. And what struck me as I've gotten to know people in the program is that this is a remarkable strength of our region and of the St. Louis community. It's a place where, you can come here as a new person and people are willing to connect you and can very easily connect you with people, with resources. And St. Louisans are very happy to do that. They want to see people thrive from other places. And so to me, I think the thing that I've realized is we have a really special home here, and it's an ideal location for immigrants and expats.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about that, Shirley? Do you agree?
Yeah, okay. I think I agree definitely now. That wasn't the case whenever I moved. It's very difficult to break through that St. Louis and just cluster, if you will.
Right.
Internationals and locals don't meet very often. There's no opportunities to meet. But that's what I think one of the biggest strengths of the International Mentoring Program. It opens the door of that closed St. Louis community, and it lets you see all of the people that are interested in international people, international talent, and making St. Louis a more diverse place. Mm-hmm. There are so many, so little opportunities for those two worlds to meet, and the mentoring program is opening that door.
Yeah. And one thing to note is that St. Louis has less than 5% foreign-born individuals living here. I am one of those, sort of in a different way. But given that we don't have that many, what do you think about the potential for growth, Shirley, in the time that, since you've moved here?
Yeah. So I think there's many points. St. Louis is it's a city that it's not growing for locals. It's growing because of the internationals that are moving here and are expanding their families here. So I think I love St. Louis. I love all the things St. Louis has to offer. And I think St. Louis is ready for an international community. St. Louis is looking for diverse talent, for talent that has a different output, that has all of this diverse experience. So I think there's a huge opportunity for immigrants to really make an impact in the culture and to really make this St. Louis grow and thrive as a city.
Right. St. Louis is also very much a place of many transplants. And Christina, we were talking earlier about where you've been. And you grew up in New York and California. You lived in Toronto and Sydney. You mentioned Japan earlier. And I would surmise that your experience of living in so many different places has informed your perspectives on life here in St. Louis. And one thing to note is that the St. Louis Mosaic Project's International Mentoring Program certainly is not limited to mentors who've been born and raised in St. Louis. I mean, what advantages do you see to that, not only for mentees, but for mentors as well?
Yeah, I think anyone who wants to be a mentor has something to contribute to this program. So, there's the thing that I think I learned early on by being Shirley's mentor was that she didn't need my career help. She was going to do great on her own. That was going to happen. But being there for the simplest things, like one day she texted me and she was on her way to a baby shower and she asked me a question about should I be bringing the gift to the baby shower or should I, send it in advance? What's the norm here? And I think anyone who has the desire to give back and to connect with people from other countries, they have a lot to give, and they can really make a big difference and get so much out of it.
Right.
And I think we're very career oriented and very professional oriented, but that's not all of the program. There's so many people that have there are stay-at-home moms that have kids and they get paired with stay-at-home moms that have kids, and they go to play dates and find ways on where to entertain the kids and where to take them to the doctor. So there's our point of view. It's a little bit heavy on the professional side. But that's just wanted to express here that the St. Louis mentoring program, it's for any kind. It doesn't matter what background you have, what country you are from. There's a place for everyone there.
Yeah. Well, and speaking of baby showers and kids, Shirley, you are a soon-to-be mom. Is that something that you and Christina talk about raising kids here?
For the longest time.
Okay.
Yes. I think as someone that is so career-oriented or focused, having kids, it's always just something to think about and how that impacts your career, how you navigate that in the workplace. What does that mean to be a mother, to be a professional? And that was one of the main concerns that I've had for the probably last 5 years. And definitely a lot of our conversations with Christina were like, how was it for you? How did you know it was the right time to be pregnant? How did you know, how did you navigate your career? Moving to a different country while being pregnant or having your kids out of the U.S. in a different culture, that is just huge.
Mm-hmm. And Christina, you have experience with that, right?
I do. And yeah, I think it's something that, you learn as a career woman and eventually as a parent that you can manage it all. It's all manageable. And I think having good friends to help you through it is a big piece of the equation.
Mm-hmm. In just one or two sentences, and this may be not so difficult for those in marketing, what would you say, Shirley, to someone who's new to St. Louis, from another country, and wondering, is St. Louis a good place for me?
Definitely. Yeah, St. Louis is a great place. It's a place where people will advocate for you, will open doors for you, will care for you, and will give you a hand.
Mm-hmm. And Christina?
Absolutely. Yeah, St. Louis is a great place to make it your home. And with resources like the International Mentoring Program, you will find a thriving community that will help you do that.
Mm-hmm. I think it would be very easy to put a very rosy sort of lens on on what it is to move to a new place. The two of you obviously have had a really great experience, but is there something during the time that you were in that formal mentor-mentee relationship, and then also just as friends after that, where you were able to help one another through something that was very challenging about being here in St. Louis?
Yes, to me, definitely it was. I was a professional in Mexico. Whenever I moved here, I couldn't work and I couldn't drive and I couldn't do anything. And I had a huge just identity crisis on what I'm nothing here. I don't have a career. I am just someone's wife. I'm not the professional that I used to be, the independent woman that made her own money, that drove herself around, that do whatever she wanted, whenever she wanted, that didn't have to worry about anything. And I would make my own decisions. And whenever I moved here, it was like I was strapped to my husband's back, like on a little baby carrier. Like I would have to wait for him to come take me to Target or to just take me to any place. It was so hard. It was like being a kid again. And definitely like Christina helped me like stay patient and just see that she always had so much trust and hope for my career to be back on track really fast. And I was very lucky for that to happen, but definitely it was moving to a new country, moving to not specifically St. Louis, but yeah, to the U.S. has been one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life.
Were you ever in the category of trailing spouse, Christina?
I was not.
Okay. That is something that I've heard a lot here. I was a trailing spouse in that I moved to St. Louis to join my husband. And I knew that I was coming. I was not coming from another country. I was coming from another state. But it was very challenging. So
my husband was a trailing spouse for most of our moves. And I think for a male especially, it's a really tough position to be in. And I saw in how he reacted to it similar to what I see in Shirley, which is this resilience, this ability to kind of reinvent yourself every time and define, who you are and what you really believe in and bring that to life in your new environment.
And is there any chance that there will be something that is for male spouses?
There is a expat men's club that's part of the program. It's part of the Mosaic, I think it's
International Spouses.
International Spouses program. And yeah, it's interesting. It's different. Like it definitely, women and men connect differently, but there is a network there too. And the other thing I'll add about the program is although the International Mentoring Program is for women, their families benefit so much from it. It's, them having those connections really helps the entire family. So the men in the equation and the kids also benefit a lot.
Christina Lawrence and Shirley Moran are St. Louis residents and friends who met as mentor and mentee through the St. Louis Mosaic Project's International Mentoring Program. Shirley and Christina, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
More information on the St. Louis Mosaic Project's International Mentoring Program can be found at stlmosaicproject.org.
This episode was produced, recorded, and edited by Emily Woodbury.
Podcast design by Aaron Dorr.
Our executive producer is Alex Hoyer.
St. Louis on the Air is a production of St. Louis Public Radio. Understanding starts here.
St. Louis on the Air proudly supports local artists by using music from Life Creative Group.
Do you find yourself regularly listening to episodes of St. Louis on the Air? Suggest us to a friend you think might enjoy our conversations. And leave us a review and rating on Apple Podcasts on the App Store. It's the simplest way to help people discover our show. Thanks.
St. Louis Public Radio is a member-supported service of the University of Missouri St. Louis.
Support comes from Missouri Forest Products Association, committed to sustainable and sound conservation of the state's forests, which support more than 41,000 Missouri jobs, resulting in a $10 billion industry. ChooseWood.com.